Hello, welcome to the Shadow Report, your news and views program about geek gaming culture on the internet. Coming up in the show today, a very infamous video game forum, ResetEra, gets sold to MOBA Network for an estimated $4.55 million. Now you know what they were worried about. We're going to talk all about that in today's show. My name is JD Shadow. All of this and the OCRemix track of the day comes your way right about now. The controversial site ResetEra was recently sold, or by recently I mean probably about today, to a Swedish company by the name of MOBA Network. Now, if you do not know who these people are, I do not blame you. This is the first time I've heard of this network. However, it does seem as though they own quite a few things. They own MOBAFire.com, DotaFire.com, SmiteFire.com, OwlFire.com, a lot of fires there, LeagueSpy.net, and a few others. Does also own a YouTube network called Union for Gamers, or UFG, and according to VG 24/7, it says it manages over 100 creators. Now, the deal is for $4.55 million. That is a lot of money for a forum. Now, the deal is to have $3.55 million that is paid in cash out of pocket. Now, the remaining $1 million is going to be paid by the end of 2021. According to the press release that's announcing this, business made $700,000 in sales over the last year, and it did this through the ad sales and by subscriptions in order to remove the ads. As you know, ResetEra, when they were with NeoGAF, we'll get to that in a minute, did not like you using ad block on their forum, to the point where you were banned if you were caught using it on their network. You didn't have an option there. Now, it goes on to state that ResetEra is publicly accessible by anyone, places big restrictions on new memberships. It only has around 55,000 members, but 45 million forum posts from its engaged community. These membership requirements will remain, and we'll get to that in a minute. Now, it also states that the moderation team is not going to change. And according to the story that ResetEra Takes 2.1 got this from, which posts some of the more hilarious things that ResetEra has done and said, the moderation staff are still going to be volunteers, basically meaning they work free. And now you know where all the angst comes from their moderation community. Now, VG 24/7 does get half of the next stuff right, but I want to emphasize that Talamanca has countered those claims rather successfully, saying that ResetEra was established in 2017 as the new home of NeoGAF members, previously one of the biggest gaming forums on the world. Sexual misconduct allegations against its owner, Talamanca, kicked off a mass exodus, with many of NeoGAF's core members leaving to establish ResetEra with an emphasis diversity and inclusivity. That is a bunch of BS by VG 24/7, let me put it to you that way. Basically, the real thing of what happened was Talamanca got an allegation levied against him, and instead of actually investigating those claims as to whether or not that he did anything wrong or did anything that was been said by that person who made the allegations, all of his administrative team just exited stage left and formed ResetEra, because yeah, they don't bother to actually investigate the claims, as you no doubt are aware, by their deplatforming of Angry Joe Vargas. The real reason they did that is because he did not rate The Last of Us 2 the way they wanted him to, so they used the cover story of his allegations, which he successfully defended himself against, and used that as a cover to deplatform him. And we all know the real reason. We are not stupid by any stretch of the imagination, and that has been one of the many problems that people will see ResetEra having. Many times we've heard of the horror stories that go on at ResetEra. There's a subreddit called ResetEra in Action that can list a lot of these things that go on in this site, but there is also a Twitter handle, ResetEra Takes 2.1, which goes and posts some of the most hilarious meltdowns that ResetEra forum Farm has. And there's also Kiwi Farm's thing, and I'm not going to touch upon that because Kiwi Farms can be a dumpster fire a lot of times, but they do have a comprehensive list of all the bans and all the moderation, staff communication things that go on there, and there are some really hilarious things that they do there, and some of the more hilarious things that they decide they're going to make a ruling on, and decide they're going to make a mountain out of a molehill about, and it goes on and on and on. You'll no doubt see that a lot of the ban reasons that people post there, and a lot of the ban reasons that we see, are things that the moderation team just make up and just pull out of their asses half the time, and will make a ban reason that is 3 lines long in order to justify the reason for banning someone, and to have rules that they just make up just so they can find a way to ban somebody retroactively. And as we have seen with somebody from the quote-unquote sales era recently, they will also target people. They do have their own Discord, which we've talked about before, which we have said and we have exposed before, and no doubt it still exists, because there was a moderator who decided to target person who was posting media create sales figures for years at both NeoGAF and ResetEra, and this person decided they know more about that than the person who was posting those for 15 years. So they got into it with other people, and it just led into a big old dumpster fire. I will post to you the link to the ResetEra in action post that I made in the description below this video, because it was just a meltdown to behold. I will take forever if I go into what happened there, but that is just a microcosm of what goes on that site. We've heard so many stories about this site, and from what we've gathered from the MOBA Network story, it seems as though nothing's really going to change. It's going to still have what amounts to one of the most draconian ways you have to get approved onto the site. When these people were with NeoGAF, it had to be one of the most convoluted things I've ever seen. One, you cannot use a email account like Yahoo or Hotmail or Outlook. It has to be from a authorized or a legitimate email address account. So basically meaning you're doxing yourself toward them before you even are able to get onto the site, and they might take forever to get to your account in order to approve it. And then when that happens, then you have to play correctly to their rules, which changes daily. And you kind of don't know what's going to set a moderator off. And when they do that, when you finally do set a moderator off, or you just get dogpiled for having a viewpoint that goes even a fraction outside of what their line is, you end up getting either dogpiled or you get banned outright for a ridiculous reason that they list. And you're looking into yourself saying, what kind of mental gymnastics did they have to go to in order to reach what they conclude that you even said? They read way too much into things, and these were the people who also doxed that Project Red employee who complained about a 2-second animation, if that, out of a Game & Watch character from Smash Brothers. As we know, these are people who deplatformed Angry Joe, who David Jaffe has condemned. And in fact, I'm just going to throw you a list on the screen about all the other different things that ResetEra has been known to do that has garnered them the ire of just about everybody within the video game industry, except those who frequent forums, which probably share the same sentiments that those people on the site seem to do. These are way too many to list, and there's more to it. I suppose you should probably just go on to ResetEra Takes 2.1 and that ResetEra in Action subreddit if you want some more information as to what exactly they are known to do. And it does seem like that this MOBA network is probably not going to change anything, and that is seemingly the one thing that we were going to hope for when we heard of this change to a Swedish company. Now, I'm not quite sure if they have any ties to Tencent or the CCP, because ResetEra seems to have a good tie with them, since whenever you bring them up, you do get banned from them as well. So that has to be weighing on a lot of people's minds. It is sold for $4.5 million. I didn't even know it was worth that much, let alone that someone would want to buy it, but apparently someone was actually selling it. Maybe they want it out of the whole forum making business. Now, we don't know much about MOBA Network other than what they own and where they're from, so hopefully they know a little bit more about how to treat people on their forums with a little bit more respect than the people who used to run it will. But I'm not really holding my breath given the information we do have. Now, it does say that MOBA Network is looking to introduce new ad formats with a eye of massive growth in the next year, which probably ResetEra is going to be a factor in that, and how they're going to tie this all into their other properties, and if they're going to just integrate ResetEra into this MOBA fire, Dota fire, Smite fire, my butt is on fire, stuff like that. Like I said, it seems like they got a lot of infernos going on that network. But will this change the mindset of the people who are on the site now? Will they then be said, hey, we don't have to worry about being so authoritarian left. We should just say what is on our minds, whether it be left wing or right wing. No one is saying that you don't have the right to have your political beliefs or to have your opinion about a game, but you should treat all opinions with a little bit of respect, as long as they're civil and as long as they don't bow down into absolute lunacy. And by lunacy, we don't mean to not have any sort of degree of distinction as to when it's just a difference of opinion about a controversial or sensitive topic, or some kind of nuanced view or nuanced perspective of the same opinion, and stuff that is just downright racist or downright sexist or downright homophobic. There's a difference between trying to say that those things are not allowed to be represented in gaming, and hey, we need to make sure that we take great care in order to represent them in the correct way that gives those communities all the respect that they deserve, while still respecting that they can take some criticism sometimes and they can have the work constructively criticized as equals as well. And we can have a diverse set of opinions as well. You can have that sort of discussion. If there's a discussion about a sensitive topic in gaming, then we should have all sides, right wing, left wing, and center wing, and the body of it to be represented. And there are several sides to a lot of these different issues that we should examine, and we should not have any kind of moderation be the deciding factor in what opinion is allowed to exist. And that's the problem with ResetEra. Even left-wing people were seeing that ResetEra was really extreme, but they also had a really big grapple on what happened in the video game industry, even if the majority of people within the video game industry did not agree with these changes that ResetEra wanted. Apparently, they had some sort of insider in the video game industry that allowed them to be able to dictate what went on, and that was becoming a huge problem here. That was becoming a big situation that needed to be addressed. Now, is MOBA Network going to address that? Is that the one thing that we're going to see change? We don't know. We need to be able to push them in order to tell us that. Why are they not going to change this membership requirements in order to be more inclusive and also a little bit less draconian and not allow people to be doxxed so easily? Neither should some nuanced viewpoint be misinterpreted or misrepresented so easily as ResetEra mods have had. Now, again, I'm not quite sure what these MOBA Network people are going to establish as far as changes to the site or what have you, or if anything's going to change. I would suspect we're going to want to see some form of changes because of how they've heard that the site is. Again, you can discuss these things and have all sides be represented without trying to dictate what is allowed to be talked about, what is allowed to be discussed, what facets of a certain element of the topics are allowed to be discussed or allowed to be represented in such a way that it doesn't seem like you're trying to smear people, trying to McCarthyite people into silence or into just agreeing with what you say just so you can have your virtue signal or whatever else. But we will see what happens with what MOBA Network tries to do. What the moderating team being volunteers still, that seems to be quite the reason why you see a lot of people be so uptight at that website. They're not getting compensation for their time time there, you might imagine why they feel like they have to go all in with how draconian in their authoritarianism they really are. Anything that makes ResetEra less of a scourge in the video game industry is a welcome addition, although seeing as how this was reported, I am not holding my breath that anything is really going to change on that front. Hopefully it does, but then again, there needs to be some actual change immediately in order for us to believe that this is going to change anything about how ResetEra is viewed on the internet and how much of a stranglehold they have on the video game industry that is 10 times as big, or if not bigger, than they ever hope to be for this. That will do it for this edition of the Shadow Report. Thanks as always for watching. If you like what you hear and see, please go hit that red subscribe button and ring the bell for more geek gaming culture, and please go share this with whatever you like, because we all know how the YouTube algorithm works anymore. They like to bury things as well as ResetEra does. Now, before we go, it's time for the OCRemix track of the day, and wouldn't you know it, Metroid Dread launched just this week or last week, and wouldn't you know it, someone finally decided to do a OCRemix on a track from Metroid Other M. As you very well know, this is one of those games that I seem to have a minority opinion about. How about that? Someone has a different opinion about something. Yeah, everybody keeps saying that Samus was represented very poorly, and I tend to disagree full-heartedly toward that sentiment. And I say that is not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, and it is not. Someone decided to do a track from the game, and I've been waiting for someone to do a track from the game. It has a incredible orchestrated soundtrack, and this came out just last week from a guy by the name of ZachParrish called Melting Point. I don't remember what this track is from. It is versus Varash, but I don't remember where exactly in the game this plays, so please forgive me for that. And please go give OCRemix.org your support, because they do definitely deserve it, especially this remix, because it is banging with the dark vibes that go on in this, as it should be in a game such as Other M, which by the way deals with PTSD rather accurately. Pretty sure I'm going to get hate for that, but then again, I really don't care. I really like the game. Here's that OCRemix track. My name is Shady Shadow. That just happened.